Ladies and gentlemen, come gather around, come gather around, come gather around. Today, we're going to put a windshield in this vehicle right here. If you're not a betting man, you should start betting. Let's go! There are two highly regarded rubber seal companies for the old 60s Chevy trucks. One is Precision Rubber, which I am using here. I got it from Bill's Truck Shop in Ontario. Pretty impressive. I use this for the back window, and the door windows I haven't done yet, but I'll probably put a link somewhere when I do. The other company is Steel Rubber, which is S-T-E-E-L-E, also highly regarded, but I have no experience and no wisdom to give you on that one. I will give you a bit of wisdom. Don't use the glass cleaner to put the rubber seal on, because while it helps the seal go on, it also helps the seal slip off, which is really annoying. So don't do that. I don't know if you saw it at the beginning, but you can see a little yellow piece of tape on the middle of the windshield. I ran a piece of masking tape from corner to corner and then trimmed it and then folded it back on itself. And it helps you find the middle of irregularly shaped objects like windshields. So the yellow there is just to match the seam that joins the rubber seal together with the center of the windshield, which will match the cowl and the hood and not look like you were drunk when you put the rubber seal on. There doesn't seem to be any pre-fitted edging to fit the corners. If I were to do this differently, I would probably, once the rubber seal is on, kind of stretch the rubber to get more of it in the corner. This may benefit you later. Don't know. This is the first one that I've put in. But some people use masking tape to hold the rubber onto the glass. It doesn't stick where the window glass cleaner was, but I did a fair bit of this. It seemed to make sense at the time. And then I gang pressed my two strapping young lads into helping install the windshield. I don't know where I got this piece of rope, whether it's nylon rope or something. It's a nice soft, not your typical yellow tie stuff down when you go into the dump rope. This is a kind of a nice softer one. And it's about a 1/4 inch diameter, so I squeezed her all the way in there. Now, I found a video on a website of a company that sells parts, and they have a YouTube channel that shows how to install a lot of their parts. And so in this take, I'm kind of following what I thought I saw in the video, where they roped it all the way up to the top. They squeezed in the top edge of the glass under the flange, and then started pulling the rope. But I don't have somebody over my shoulder giving me tips and tricks on what I should or shouldn't be doing, or no, don't smack it that hard, or no, now is where you pull the rope. I don't really know. So I'm trying to figure it out based on what I understood from the video, as you guys are trying to figure out what I'm doing here. And I don't even know what I'm doing here. And I think I did a fair bit of work trying to get the window in without the ropes. Should have used the ropes probably at this point, but was still persuading things because I wasn't exactly happy with the fit. I thought it would needed to fit a whole bunch better. So I'm doing what I think made sense based on what I saw in the video. I'd recommend having somebody with you who's got some experience when you're doing this. And I would probably be gentler. But there's a bunch of smacking and picking and pulling, and I bet if I pulled the ropes, this window would be the one to use. But whatever. It's always giggly fun until here. And that's when you call it quits. Bugger. So I made this device to carry windshields. It's just 2x4s screwed together. It is the exact length of the pickup bed and the exact width between the wheel humps. And then the glass just slips in between the 2x4s wrapped in a blanket held down with a bungee cord. And then, hey, I think we've been here before. Took the seal off. I left it on the glass because at least it would kind of keep its shape. Again, I learned from the last time, and I did not use a glass cleaner to put the seals on, but now you can see the center line now in blue, because blue is a lucky color. Oh man. And I coerced the seal on, and I left this one sit for, I think, 2 or 3 days. I can't remember. Maybe a week. Because it was already accustomed, acclimatized to the original glass. So it wouldn't be too much of an issue here. It took 6 weeks for the first glass to come in. It took 4 weeks for the second one to come in. And this one I'm doing differently because I did a bit more research. And I'm trying it different than that first video that I saw. Ladies and gentlemen, come gather around, come gather around. Today we're going to put another windshield in the 61 Chevy pickup. Let's go. So this one is roped from, I guess, all the way around and comes out the bottom. And I'm going to go about this a little bit differently and goop the snot out of it. And try not to be quite so violent. At least that's the plan. So the head custodian at school wanted me to watch the movie Luck, which I watched. And the first part of the movie was kind of, it got too personal because things don't always go the way I want them to. So I was going to show you how we install this one or show you how we break the second windshield, but it went in while the video camera decided not to continue recording. So I didn't get the recording of the install. So this time I still loaded up the rope. It's like a 1/4-inch nylon rope that was still loaded through the seam. I let it sit for a couple days because it had been sitting on the old glass when I pulled it out, except instead of roping it to the top, I roped it to the bottom. If you Google 60 to 63 Chevy truck windshields, you'll find one by a company that sells parts, and they do it a little differently than everybody else. I don't know if it's better, worse, sorry, doesn't matter. When I started Googling wraparound windshields, everybody ropes at the bottom. I have a former student teacher who used to be a glazier. He says rope it to the bottom. And partly you're kind of letting gravity do the work for you. Now, the distance between here and here is smaller than the distance between here and here. So you can't set the glass in and drop it in. So we stuck it in up underneath, just outside of the window opening, shoved it against there, and kind of helped persuade the rubber against the flange. And then I got inside and used this pick tool. Hopefully that focuses on you. You can get these pretty much anywhere. You can probably make them if you're creative. I would probably blunt the end of this a little bit better. But with that pick tool, you can get inside and kind of pull that flange over, like at least get it up. And meanwhile, just tapping, not frickin' pounding on it, just gentle slaps to try and persuade it to move over. Oh, goop. I used a combination of this hand cleaner. A lot of folks recommend one called Goop, which is really goopy, and it's just a hand cleaner. Couldn't find any locally, so I bought this locally, and it's just a hand cleaner that has no grit in it, okay? So it's just goopy, hence the name Goop. So I gooped the mother-loving snot out of it with this on the rope, in the seam, the whole bit. The more the merrier. And I used a little bit of a foamy window cleaner to help persuade it, because this is pretty slippery and you can hose that thing down all over the place. So you want to try and persuade enough of the lip, and I found I had to pull in some of the top corner a little bit, and I think some along the edge. I don't remember, on the inside, just wherever it was kind of catching, I had to pull some of it up to get the window close enough that I could start pulling the ropes. And when you pull the rope out of the center and try to get that rubber to kind of fit over the flange, as long as it gets over, we're kind of laughing, and you work your way all around. And I got to about here on both sides, trying to go equally, when this just wasn't pushed in far enough. So I stopped and I came back and I picked at the seal on this side and picked at the bottom, and I did a whole bunch of just kind of working it and working it. And I put some of these on the inside so that I could have a little extra pull. I bought this one a while back, but I didn't use it just because I was a little bit nervous. That would probably be a good one in the middle. That gives you a handle on the inside to kind of give it steady pressure tension, steady pull while someone smacks the outside to just persuade it in. And you really want to think, I'm persuading this windshield in, because it does not want to go. So the pick, I did get a bunch of these, which are just a little plastic spoon, probably perfect for doing tires on bicycles, so I don't buy a patch kit every time I buy a new tube. These were good. I had one on either end. Probably should have put this one in the middle. And just persuade it and persuade it and persuade it. And you're just kind of picking the seal. And once you get the rope out, hopefully the flange has made it all the way through, then it's a bunch of patting and picking to try and get it the rest of the way. At some point, the outer flange on here, and it's really thin on the outer edge, at some point that little flange, it's like this on the seal, and you put it on the body, and you need that little edge to kind of come out onto the body, but it wants to be here. We don't want it there, it wants to be there. And if it stays like this, you can't get that seal all the way through. So you come around the outside and you pick that guy out to pull it onto the body like that. And when that's moved out all the way around, you can push it a little bit further. You likely can't pick it all the way around, but do what you can, and then try persuading the flange on the inside, and then come back and persuade the outside, and then come back and persuade the inside. And eventually, you're going to get to a point where you've scratched all the paint, and it's as far as it's going to go. And that's where I'm at. So that's as far as I'm going to go. I wasn't quite able to get a perfect seal in the corner back here, but they weren't sealed when I took the old windshield out. So I'm going to let it sit in here with the heater on for a day, and then I'll probably put in some kind of a window sealer, like a black silicone or something, and just goop that with something. Silicone, window seal, I don't know whatever I can find at Home Depot, I guess. And just to seal up the gap there. But it's about as far as I can get it, and it ain't going to go any further. So that's where it is. So it's likely going to be hard to see with the light, but you want to make sure on the inside that rubber seal comes right up to there. You may need to use the pick to help it along, or your fingers. Lots of lube to get that all the way around in there. All the way down into the pockets down here in the bottom. Oh my gosh. And then same thing down here. This is a bugger. Trying to pull that in and get it all the way in, it's really not fun. I can see why glass shops don't touch this. But we want to get that all the way in. I've got it all the way in. It's not going to go in any further. That's it. So, looking forward to putting in the mirror. If you've got a sharp eye, you'll notice this hole is lower than that hole. That's a factory drilled location, the A Chevy. Oh no, these trucks are the best things in the world. Yeah, yeah, they sure are. Don't want to do it again. But it's in as far as I can go. So, hooray, thanks for coming out. So there's two things that'll definitely make you a praying man. When that first squirming bundle of joy is placed into your arms in the hospital, and when you're trying to install a wraparound windshield. Thankfully, I didn't have to sacrifice my firstborn, and now it's in. Woo! Thanks for coming out. Take care. Looking forward to the first rock chip.